I met my boyfriend's work wife for the first time, and I'm devastated. So, throwaway account because this is pretty personal drama, and I don't want all my friends knowing about this just yet. I've been with my boyfriend for 5 years now, and he's been at his current job for a few years. We will call him Jake. I've never met any of his co-workers until last night, but there's one in particular who we will call Amy. He sometimes does favors for her, fixing her car, going to her house to fix stuff around her house, etc., and I was never really concerned because he told me all his co-workers are a lot older than him. However, one night while he was asleep, his guy friend kept blowing up his phone, so I answered to let him know that Jake was sleeping, and so was I, so please stop calling. Anyways, before I put the phone down, I noticed 5 unread text notifications from Amy. I guess some of the spam notifications were from her. One of them said, "Great Jake, now everyone thinks we're fucking," laughing crying emoji. This really concerned me. So the next day after Jake got home from work, I asked about it. He said that both him and Amy were late for work that morning, so everyone probably assumed that, and it was just a joke. I thought that it was a weirdly unprofessional joke and expressed my discomfort. He invited me to the bar with him and his co-workers that night so that I could meet her and see that it was nothing to worry about. It did not soothe my nerves at all. Turns out that Amy is not a lot older than him. She's only 3 years older and super pretty. The entire night she was all over him, touching him, leaning on him, putting his arms around her, etc., and even kissed him on the cheek, and he acted like it was normal. They were constantly teasing each other, in that middle schooler who doesn't know how to properly flirt yet kind of way. She told me all about how she loves him like a brother, and also told me that she's had sex with half of their other co-workers, and that she got the next morning off work because she sent a co-worker nudes to get him to cover for her. Later on, she started crying and sobbing at the bar, actual tears, because she's so lonely and wants someone to love her, and my boyfriend ended up having to comfort her. I'm just unsure what to do or say. My boyfriend kept acting like this was normal, that he wasn't doing anything wrong by entertaining this behavior. I can't ask him to cut her off. They're on the same unit and they have to work together. I literally do not know what to do about this, but I'm just disgusted knowing that this has been going on all these years, that he has worked with her. How can I set boundaries when they're forced to be around each other all the time at work? In the comments, Silver Grain Dust says, "Your gut is working. None of that is normal co-worker behavior, and it's okay to be disturbed. One small step, calmly tell him that you need a firm boundary, like no touching/kisses, no outside of work favors, and see if he actually respects that." OP says, "Thank you. I will try that and see if he respects it or not. Most people were telling me to just leave, but a part of me finds it really difficult to end a long-term relationship without at least attempting to talk out the issue with him. Please don't stay in a relationship just because you've been in it for several years. I've seen so many people, including myself, become victim to the sunken cost fallacy in relationships. She's fucked half of the people at work, hangs all over him in front of you, and openly admits to using guys by sending nudes. Doesn't your boyfriend go to her place to fix things? I wonder why. I'd be shocked if she hadn't sent him pictures already. He had dated you for 5 years, and instead of asking you to marry him and start a real life together, he's treating another woman like his girlfriend, fixing her car, house, giving her rides, flirting with her, etc. That's what you do with someone you have feelings for. The fact that none of the co-workers batted an eye tells you that this goes on all the time between the two of them, and this is the behavior that they let you see. I can guarantee their behavior when they are alone at her house is much worse. She was all over him to let you know that he may be yours on paper, but truly, he is hers. Why do you want a relationship to work with someone who hasn't committed to you in 5 years, but is cheating on you? Maybe it's only emotional cheating, but I highly doubt that that's where it stops. Also, why is emotional cheating acceptable to you? He's giving attention to a woman in a way that he should only give to you. That takes away from the specialness of you being in a couple. It breaks your bond because if he's emotionally invested in her, then he's pulled back from you. Ask him if he would like a male co-worker hanging all over you and kissing you. This How would he like a male coworker hugging you and kissing you on the cheek? It's not okay, either situation. Bro, this is actually fucking unreal. OP says, yeah, I was literally in shock at the bar about how blatant it all was. And no one else reacted to it. They all acted like it was normal, so I was just sitting there in disbelief. Girl, they act like it's normal because she admitted that she had banged most of them. She wants your man, or she's already had him. You need like super hard boundaries because she's already overstepping the line of what's appropriate. I would just end the relationship. If he can't recognize how disrespectful this is on his own, he's either stupid AF or doesn't give a fuck about OP. OP's too young to deal with this. I feel like there is a world that this relationship continues and like it doesn't have to end here. I believe, after seeing a lot of people go through similar, if not worse, there's a lot of people that will want relationships that have lasted this long, especially, to survive something as grotesque as this. I'm going to say this is a pretty grotesque and ugly situation that you wouldn't want people really knowing about. And I don't blame you. That's probably why you came to Reddit for this one. I think a solution for this one would be he has to quit that job and find somewhere else to work that is away from that entire environment, because it's not just one person that is the problem here. It's all the other co-workers as well. But I don't even know if that would change him as a person enough to be able to trust him in the future. So that's also why people are saying break up. And I can see why, because the fact that your boyfriend is acting like this is normal coworker behavior is a huge red flag. All that touching, kissing, emotionally breaking down in his arms, and those text messages as well. Jesus. Like, I get Amy is clearly flirting with everyone and using sex and attention to get what she wants. And I don't understand why your boyfriend is so comfortable being a part of that dynamic. He also lied about her age. He downplayed her age and then just brushed off your discomfort at learning about this fact instead of addressing it. He's like, oh yeah, well, technically she is older, so like, chill out, man. I don't think you should have to teach a grown man what is respectful, what is acceptable, and what's not. If he cared about your feelings, OP, he would have set those boundaries long before you ever met her in person. I think it's time to have that serious talk about no physical contact with her, no personal favors. Big safeguards need to be put up if he stays in this workplace. And if he pushes back or he makes excuses and downplays it, I think you got your answer there. And now on to the update. So to start this off, I have to apologize for not updating sooner. It's been a while, and I'm not sure if you guys will even remember me or my post. A lot has happened, and I've just been overwhelmed. I want to say thank you to everyone who gave advice. The original post got over 2 million views, so there were tons of comments, and I read them all, even if I didn't respond. I did not expect it to blow up like that. Before I give the update, I want to give some clarifications about frequently asked questions on my original post. 1. My boyfriend told me that all his co-workers were a lot older than him, but that was when we were discussing other co-workers months prior, so I understand why he didn't happen to mention this one exception, Amy, since she wasn't on the topic. He was making a generalization. 2. A lot of people pointed out that it's been 5 years with no ring. I do have a ring. He proposed when we had been together for 2 years, but I told him that I wanted to wait until I finished my college degrees, and he was very understanding and supportive. If he had had it his way, we'd be married already. Our plan was to get engaged after I graduate. 3. Work environment and HR questions. Lots of people were asking about this. He's contracted through a security company to work at a factory. To my knowledge, the factory itself has an involved HR team, but they don't interact with the security staff much at all. However, 4 people have been fired in the past for having sex at their workplace in storage closets and a boiler room. I'm surprised Amy isn't one of them. So, update time. I did end up talking to Jake. I struggled finding a good time to bring it up because we ended up being invited on a spontaneous trip with our friends shortly after I made my post. But I ended up talking to him when we had a moment alone at the hotel. I expressed how those behaviors made me feel, and he told me he wanted to discuss this, but wasn't sure how to bring it up either since we didn't talk about it when it happened. I was so emotionally defeated the night that we got home from the bar that I went to sleep without a word. Anyways, Jake told me that he was completely caught off guard by how Amy was acting at the bar. He said that while she did make odd comments every now and then, she'd never done anything physically until that night, and he let their other female co-workers know that he was uncomfortable with how Amy acted at the bar, and she agreed and said that she would not schedule him with Amy anymore since she manages the schedule. I mentioned in my last post that Amy was constantly boasting about sleeping with a bunch of men and sending them pictures or whatever. I interpreted this as she's trying to tell him that he's down to do anything with anyone, including him. She's telling him she's interested. She's telling him she likes having sex. Jake, however, interpreted the flirty comments as her personality because she was that way with everyone, and interpreted this sleep with a bunch of men boasting as, I'm not interested in you personally, which is why he didn't find it odd. You know how when you start talking to someone of the opposite sex, they'll casually slip in a mention of their girlfriend and boyfriend as a way to let you know that they're already taken and are only interacting with you platonically? He thought that it was like that, and that was why she kept mentioning whoever she was seeing at the time. During our conversation, Jake reassured me that he loves me and only wants me. He apologized for not resolving this sooner, and that he just felt super awkward at the bar when he realized what she was doing and he didn't know how to react. He mentioned that he would never do anything with Amy, or anyone like Amy, and that he found her promiscuity and emotional instability to be unattractive. He believed that the reason she suddenly started being so handsy with him that night at the bar was because I was there, and that must have made her lash out. But he promised that it never happened before that. After this conversation, and him showing me texts from his coworker stating that he won't be scheduled with Amy anymore, I felt a lot better. Until Jake told me that he wanted to talk one day. He said that even though he wasn't scheduled on the same shifts as Amy anymore, she started switching shifts with people to work with him, and because of that, he started applying to jobs and later on let me know that he got accepted to be a field technician at Spectrum. He put his 2 weeks in at his current job, and now he only has 1 week left until he starts. It's a field he's more interested in, has better pay, and obviously Amy won't be there. Overall, I'm currently happy and feel a lot better that he cut her, and soon that entire work environment, out of our lives. We've been talking about a lot of things since then. Better communication, how can we enforce boundaries even when it's awkward? I know this update's going to make a lot of people displeased. Most responses wanted me to end our relationship, but I'm happy where things are going currently. Thank you again to everyone who responded. In the comments, LS Rels says, although Jake is moving on to better things, I recommend he very clearly tell his security company why he elected to move. What Amy did, as observed by other co-workers, was a form of harassment, and her changes to work together after the schedule was modified doubled down on the harassment, directly leading to your exit. The company needs to be aware that they have a possible liability on their staff. OP says, thank you for the advice. I didn't think of this. I'll definitely mention it. Hopefully it'll spare other people from having to deal with this. Dude is an adult and did the right things. Communicated and took steps to improve a potentially bad situation. Also made it clear beyond any doubt he chooses his fiancée even if he's occasionally a bit naive and obtuse, because he is a guy. And as another guy, his explanation makes perfect sense to me, because that is likely the same thought process that I would have had. Granted, I had it pointed out by others that I was asked out for a date when I thought the girl was being nice. You really saved the day. I need to take you out for a drink kind of thing. So take the oblivious as gospel because it's absolutely probable. In fairness to Jake, if I met a woman and she was telling me about all the guys that she was fucking, I'd assume that she wasn't interested in me either. I remember one time in high school, I was hanging out with this girl at a party that I'd been interested in, and who I thought was interested in me. She spent the entire time telling me about this other guy who kept asking her out and how annoying it was because she didn't like him. I thought to myself, well, I don't want to be annoying, so I won't ask her out then. Boys can be incredibly clueless sometimes. I get it. I get the cluelessness and being like, he should have taken it as a sign. I'm going to beat a dead horse here, but for every guy that chooses to ignore what could have been to other people an obvious, hey, ask me out moment, we have so many other stories of girls coming up on TikTok and Instagram Reels and all of that being like, these creeps take my friendliness as a sign to ask me out. Ew, leave me alone. Since when did I want that attention? Can't I just be your friend without being sexualized? So I'm firmly in the camp of all these oblivious men who would rather be safe than sorry and be like, you know what, they're just being nice. They're telling me this because they're not interested in me. Gotcha. I will side with them because I'm not about to be put up on TikTok and embarrassed. And look, I get it. There's going to be people that comment and be like, Markee, come on, man. You got to step up. Get out there, be confident, talk to women. Don't be defeatist. This modern age bullshit, man. Come on. You gotta do that. I respect that. I will still do that when it's obvious that there's mutual attraction there. Don't get me wrong. My point is, I can see where they're coming from. And in this case, with OP's partner, this was a bit of a different situation where she was overtly sexualizing herself, and really obliviousness only goes so far, but both of them saved this situation together. So I get it. I'll accept it. OP, your boyfriend, genuinely didn't read her comments the way you did, and it looks like he just froze when things crossed that line instead of knowing how to shut it down in the moment. Not everyone is that self-aware or able to do those things. But what matters here is how he handled it once you guys talked. I'm glad he took it seriously, that he worked with his coworker to avoid her, and did what I thought had to be done. He changed jobs when Amy kept crossing that line again. That really shows effort, determination, and respect for your relationship. You set boundaries, he listened, he took action. That's a healthy relationship dynamic right there, and I'm glad you worked it out. Thank you for the update. Our next post is by user Tibzen, titled, Am I the asshole for wanting to move out despite my parents' problems at home? I'm a 22-year-old guy in the UK with Indian parents. I was raised in the UK, and there weren't many other Indian people in my area, so I've always clashed a bit with my parents over cultural things like going out, relationships, and independence. They aren't abusive or evil, but they are traditionally controlling. For example, last year my mum found out that I had a white girlfriend and completely blew up, threatening to cut me out of the family. We didn't speak for months because every time I tried to talk calmly, she would shout and lose her temper. This is common for her. I've recommended therapy in the past, which she refuses. For context, my parents own a shop. My dad has slowly become an alcoholic over the last 10 years. I've had to break up arguments for years, and over the last few years, I've emotionally checked out because it's exhausting. I've tried to help him many times, but he's never really changed. I still step in when things get bad because I hate conflict in the house. I didn't go to university, but I've landed a well-paid job. I can finally afford a dream that I've had since I was a teenager, moving to a flat/apartment in a big city nearby with a friend and living independently in my 20s. We've found places and I'm excited. It's only a 40 to 50 minute drive away. When I cautiously brought this up, my mum exploded. She said I'm betraying her, abandoning the family, and leaving her alone with my dad and the shop. In her eyes, this is worse because culturally, sons are expected to live with their parents long term. I've always said that that isn't what I want. I said this would only be for a couple of years and then I'd rent the flat out as an investment. I've helped a lot with the shop and my dad over the years, but I'm drained by the constant tension and shouting. I'm very non-confrontational, and it's caused me my first panic attacks. My older sisters never pushed back like I have, so I get the most resistance about independence from my parents. I feel guilty, but I also feel like I'm an adult who deserves to live his own life after working hard. I struggle to see why they aren't happy for me like my friend's parents are for him. Am I the asshole for wanting to move out? In the comments, not the asshole. Your parents chose to move you to the UK and raise you there. They shouldn't be surprised that you learned the local traditions instead of their home culture. You have your own life and want to live it, so do it. In the UK, there are other supports than an oldest son and their daughter-in-law someday. And if your mum is unhappy in her marriage, there's a simple way out: divorce. You are not there to be their punching bag. Exactly. This is a problem that many of my friends with Indian parents have had. You are British. They raised you British, but they want you to behave Indian, which means your expectations are different, which must be frustrating for both sides. But you are not the asshole. Do your thing. Date who you're attracted to. Live where you want to live. You're a grown adult and deserve to live your own life. Not the asshole. Move out. Your mum's trying to guilt trip you with tradition. Living at home until you were married may work in India, but you're in the UK. I once heard tradition described as pressure from dead people. You're not responsible for your father or his shop. He's an adult. Your mother is an adult. They can handle their own lives. I wouldn't even promise them that you'll move back someday. Just move and see where life takes you. Be prepared for tears, guilt trips, and threats from your parents. But don't let them get to you. Not the asshole. Your parents moved there with their culture and tradition intact. You have never lived in a country like that. You had culture and tradition at home, but most of your life is outside your parents' home. You have a right to live your own life in a manner that is for you. Just bear in mind, tradition and culture aside, there will come a point when elders need some assistance. I mean, I'm just going to pile on as well. It is so not fair of them to put Indian expectations on you when they've never had you living long-term in India. If they want to enforce Indian customs and traditions on you, then they should never have moved to the UK. They should have just stayed in India and raised you in India so that you became accustomed to that environment. And because of their marriage being on fire and just them, I'm going to say, being generally unpleasant people to be around, they have done damage to your mental health and caused you to have a panic attack, and probably more to come if you stay there and continue interacting with them. For your well-being, for your nervous system, you have to move out and get the fuck away from them for a while. I get what you're going through. I completely understand. You are going to end up just like them if you continue living with them. Your mum framing this as betrayal is just straight out manipulation. She's a bad person for doing that. You're not responsible for fixing their marriage. You're not responsible for managing your dad's addictions or holding your family together. They're adults. They can fix those problems that they caused long before you wanted to leave that shitty situation. Moving out doesn't mean that you don't love your parents, OP, but you need to get out of there before they do irreparable damage to you. And now, onto the update. Thank you for the advice. I didn't realize how cut and dry this was. After living with my family for years, I'm able to see it from their perspective and through a certain cultural lens a lot more. So it was nice to see that despite the problems at home, people were very supportive of me wanting to move out. I spoke to my mum again yesterday, and while I didn't mention the post here, I was a lot more firm on wanting to live my life in a way that makes me happy. It was an emotional, long conversation, but she came around in a way that I didn't think she would, to be honest. She agreed that it's only right that I'm able to enjoy my life and get free of the constant unease and tension that's in the house. She voiced her fears about being left alone with an alcoholic husband and not being confident enough in English to be able to run a shop herself and make new friends and connections. But we discussed it, and while I can tell that the worry is still there, which is natural, we are on the same page. We spoke about me buying a flat and how we'd go about it, and it really is happening, and I'm much happier that I have her support. I think the last few years of my dad being an alcoholic and not being caring towards my mum have really changed her perspective on certain things, and she's more so glad that I'm actually confidently building a life that makes me happy. Seems like one more honest, open conversation was all that was needed. It's difficult to approach those with stricter parents who are raised differently when it comes to expressing emotions. But the support here and from my friends really did help push me towards not wasting any more time and beginning to live my life on my own terms once more. Thanks. In the comments, explain to your mum that working the store will help her language barrier, give her a sense of purpose so she's not feeling depressed alone at home, improvement of social skills so that she can make some friends. I'd encourage her to seek out some type of Alcoholics Anonymous / support group, especially if she's hesitant on therapy. She'll meet others in her situation, and then she can decide what's best for her regarding her marriage. When people blow up and find that it stops the discussion and gets them what they want, they continue to use that strategy. It's great that you kept going and made her listen. The truth is, you actually have leverage. You don't have to come back home. She can be stuck with her alcoholic husband without the benefit of having you in her life if she tries to ice you out again. So if she tries to play that game with you again, tell her flat out that her threats hurt her the most and tell her why. I don't know why you would rent your flat out later. Surely you won't move back home. Please don't do that. How the fuck do people live somewhere for decades without learning the language? OP says she knows the language, she's just not super confident in it. She gets nervous easily, and so it's exacerbated when she's trying to converse in a new language. Look, when you're under the thumb of an abusive alcoholic, I can definitely see why she is kind of caught in this situation and why she's not progressed so much in English, because I can't imagine he would take too kindly to her having a community that could open her eyes to how much of a piece of shit he is. It's that whole thing of abusers cutting you off from your network so that they can isolate you. I feel like that is very much the case with her in this situation. Overall, I think this is a great update though. I think it shows that this was never about you being a selfish prick, as they have stated. It was more about the fear and stress that your mum felt by being overwhelmed by everything at home. Yeah, I get that. Once you were clear and firm with her though, she was able to really understand where you're coming from and realize what's actually best for you and what she's just overthinking. And I think it's a big step that she actually acknowledged the tension in the house and how it's been affecting you, not just downplaying it and dismissing it like so many do. That shows some growth. I'm pleasantly surprised, especially with her strong cultural grounding that she has, if you could call it that, cultural expectations. I think you struck a good balance here though, by listening to her, seeing where she's coming from, meeting her where she's at, but also standing up for your own life and your mental health. Ideal outcome. You get to have your independence, and you didn't burn your bridges, at least with her. It doesn't really sound like your dad has been much involved with this situation, so I can't imagine how that's going to go when he figures out what you guys are up to. I hope he doesn't blow up. I hope he doesn't, separate you and your mum and cut off your contact from her, but I guess we'll see. Good luck. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.